All right, greetings, everyone. So we held a creating an alkaline environment for the body seminar slash discussion at New Beginnings Mind, Body, and Soul Wellness Center a few weeks ago, and a few people asked me if I could go over it again because they weren't able to make it. So I decided to share my PowerPoint, and I did it via Zoom. So we're just going to run through it about what I mean when I'm talking about creating an alkaline environment for the body. All right, so we're going to begin with the African body because as you'll learn in a few moments, this is like the basis of all human life. So human life as we know it began in Africa. Our human journey began in Africa. The African genome is a complete set of genetic information found in an organism. It is the foundation for all human life. And there's a lot of things going around on the internet, especially in terms of the Eve gene, but the African genome is the foundation for all human life. The interaction of the Africans and the African ecosystem developed a body that was highly electric and alkaline. Early Africans consumed plant-centered diets, which emphasized the consumption of alkaline plants that naturally supported the electrical balance and healthy expression of the African genome, which again, the African genome is the foundation for all human life. So early Africans consumed plant-centered diets, which emphasized the consumption of alkaline plants. And by alkaline plants, I mean non-hybridized plants, plants in their purest form. All right, so let's discuss plant life in Africa. So plant life in Africa grew in the same environmental conditions as the African body. This is important, and I'll tell you why. These plants had a wide range of nutrients and a complete structure and a chemical affinity that, corresponded well with the African genome. So the plants in early African life, they were easily digested without byproducts that threw the body out of homeostasis. And homeostasis is meaning throwing it out of balance. So these plants were digested by their systems because they were familiar with it. It was in their environment. They were also not hybridized like I was just talking to you about, and they were highly alkaline. And your goal is to try to make your body as alkaline as possible. So specifically, what do I mean by hybridized? And as you see, there's a picture of carrots here. A lot of people don't realize how the carrot has been manipulated and made hybrid over the years. All right, so hybrid plants and foods are items that have received human intervention. And we're seeing a lot of this right now. I don't know if you've been to the grocery store lately, but they have these grapes, flavored cotton candy grapes, and different flavored grapes that obviously did not occur naturally. So they've been manipulated and they receive human intervention. So as fun and catchy as that all sounds, our bodies don't know how to digest it because it's not pure and from its original source. So many of the plants eaten today are the direct result of man-made hybridization of two or more plants. The result of hybridization are as follows. It causes a negative effect of the natural balance of the nutrients in the plant. And more specifically, it also makes the plant more acidic. And you don't want an acidic body, you want an alkaline body because alkaline equates to having sort of an electrical charge in your body. It helps to drive us, gives us energy, decrease mucus, things like that. So why does it matter if I eat a hybrid? The reason we should avoid eating hybrids is because it affects the state of homeostasis and electrical activity in the body, which makes us more susceptible to dis-ease. If your body's out of balance and out of whack, you know how that feels. If something's off with you, you may get a headache or you may feel sluggish, things like that. So we really want to try to avoid eating any of these hybrid vegetables and, fruits. So here's a quote I pulled just to sort of bring it all to surface. So the body can be looked at as one big battery. And eating a diet centered on natural plants keeps the battery optimally charged. Just like the battery, using the body recharges its strength or electrical charge. Luckily, the body is like a rechargeable battery. And when natural plants are consumed, nutrients in the correct ratio are added back to recharge our body. So the question I'll ask now, I just want you to think about it because we're not around each other, but how many of you have eaten food that made you feel tired and sluggish? Because we're not supposed to feel like that after we eat. You should be energized. You should not be lethargic. You should not be tired after you consume a meal. So that means you're putting something into your body that's not necessarily agreeing with it. So if we know in early Africa, they started off with a plant-based diet, highly alkaline, less acidic diet. How do we go from eating this, so eating plant-based diet, to this, to eating fried chicken? And I know some of you might be looking at it and say, "Oh, that looks good to me, crispy skin, chicken, etc." But it's not doing anything for your body. So, and part of the reason is because we adopted the slave diet, and unfortunately, that was out of their control. They were brought over here, as slaves with no choice. They were given a table scrap, so they had to turn what they needed, turn it into something edible so that they can feed their family. But unfortunately, it had a really bad effect on our health. Another issue, another thing we've gone to is overly processed foods. The problem with processed foods is that they're very high in sodium and among other chemicals that they keep in these foods to help them, stay fresh, if you will, but they're horrible for your system. So all disease originates in our guts. And this phrase is actually often attributed to the ancient Greek physician Hippocrates nearly 2,500 years ago. But what many people don't know is that he received his knowledge from Imhotep. And Imhotep is actually the real father of medicine. A lot of the ancient Greek philosophers and physicians study Imhotep's work because he was a scientist, a scribe, a philosopher, an astronomer, mathematician, architect, historian, and doctor. So he was a genius. Imhotep knew a lot. He knew how to use herbs to cure and food, and he was very well versed in everything. And if you look at the Hippocratic Oath, and I can't recall the name, but Hippocrates actually gave a shout out to Imhotep, but he didn't use the name Imhotep. He gave him another name. I think he gave him a Greek name, but that's who he's referring to when he was giving thanks for the knowledge that he received. So look into it. You'll see that is true. So the point is, we are either feeding disease or we're fighting it. So the food you choose to put in your system is either feeding dis-ease or it will be fighting dis-ease. That choice is up to you, what you decide to put into your body. So for all my science friends, because everyone, the new phrase nowadays is I follow the science. Okay, so let's follow the science. Let's talk about cells. So just to give you a brief definition of cells, the basic building blocks of all living things are cells, right? The human body is composed of trillions of cells, 37.2. Some people think it's more than that. So let's just say it's composed of trillions of cells. They provide structure for the body. They take in nutrients from food. They convert those nutrients into energy, and they carry out specialized functions. So based off of this definition I'm giving you, we can all agree that cells are living things, right? Because they're the basic building blocks of all living things. So are cells living organisms? Are cells living organisms? So if you said yes, which I hope you did, why are you feeding your living cells dead meat? Think about it for a second. If we know cells are living, what nutrients are they getting from dead meat? Can you get any nutrients from something that's dead? More than likely, no, you cannot. So you cannot. So you're not getting anything from this dead meat. It actually causes you more harm than good. But I'm sure a lot of people say, well, we need the meat for protein. I want to build muscle. I need to exercise, and I'm not going to get muscles just eating plants. That again would be false, and I'm going to tell you why. So I see in the grocery store, a lot of people like grass-fed cows. Why do they like grass-fed cows? So if the cows are getting their nutrients from the grass, why can't you just go directly to the source? Why can't you just go directly to the source and get your nutrients from plants? Because that's where the cows are getting it from. They're either plant fed or they're grain fed. Either way, they're not eating meat. They're eating either grains or plant. And a lot of people pay extra money for these organic, what do you call it? Organic plant fed cows or whatever, however it's referred to. So again, just cut out the middleman. Go directly to, getting your nutrients and your protein from plants. So did you know cows and humans share 80% of their DNA? So while the cow is not the closest animal to a human DNA, it seems to be the most popular one humans like to eat. But again, really pay attention to where they're getting their nutrients from, because they're not getting their nutrients from meat. They're getting it from plants. So let's talk about plant protein, because there's always a misconception, when you go work out at the gym or you meet with trainers and you tell them you're plant-based or you're vegetarian. So plant protein can be found in beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, quinoa, leafy greens, kale, whole grains, etc. Certain plants can be excellent sources of protein, often with fewer calories and fewer potentially harmful effects than animal products. Some plant proteins, such as quinoa, are complete proteins, which means they contain all 9 essential amino acids that we need. Now, there are some plant proteins that are missing some of the amino acids, so it's important to eat a variety of food just to ensure that you get all 9, but you can definitely get all 9 on a plant-based diet. Studies also show that people on vegetarian or vegan diets, which often rely on plant protein, are at a lower risk of certain diseases, including cancer, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and ischemic heart disease. And as you can see, I pulled this directly off of cedarsinai.org. So I didn't make this up. This is true. You can research it yourself. But we've been misled to think that we need our protein from meat, and that's not necessarily the case. All right, so let's talk about good old seafood. Everybody loves seafood, right? Nothing beats having some crab legs dipped in butter, fried shrimp, or however you like to eat your shrimp. But let's get some background on seafood. So crabs and shrimp, aka scavengers and bottom feeders of the sea. So I keep wanting to say shrimp. I don't know why. Probably from something I've seen. Shrimp are scavengers and spend most of their time in the wild eating anything that's fallen down to the bottom of the waterbed. As they grow, they'll also eat algae, dead and living plants, worms, decaying worms, fish, snails, and even other dead shrimps. Crabs aren't picky eaters either. They will eat everything from dead and living fish to barnacles, plants, snails, shrimps, worms, and even other crabs. So when you're eating your crab and shrimp bake and whatever they call it, boils, you're eating the scavengers and bottom feeders of the sea. And it's going to cause you problems. You may get indigestion, you may get gastritis, diarrhea. There's so many things that can happen because we're not supposed to be consuming them. So let's just go a little further into shrimp. We're going to talk about raw shrimp. Now, obviously, most of you probably aren't eating raw shrimp. Some of you can, but even knowing that raw shrimp contains a high level of bacteria would make you want to question if it's really worth me eating it. So raw shrimp contains a bacterium called Vibrio. Over 70 species exist, 12 of which are known to cause illness in humans. A study in 299 raw shrimp samples determined that 55% contain potentially harmful Vibrio species responsible for conditions like gastritis, cholera, and infections. In addition, a study in farm shrimp found 100 strains of Vibrio, many of which were resistant to antibiotic treatment. In a review of 10 seafood processing plants in Nigeria, 100% of shrimp harbored bacteria, which is commonly associated with diarrhea and vomiting. So next time you want to have some crabs or seafood, think about the bacteria that you can find in these foods. And there's healthier alternatives, you know. But let's talk about soy, which is something that they have in every single item that you find in a grocery store. If you're lucky enough to find something without soy, consider yourself blessed because it's in literally everything. And the sad part is they know it's not good for you, but yet they keep putting it in your food anyway. So let's talk about soy. Soy foods contain high level of phytic acid. So if you haven't heard what phytic acid is, it's also often referred to as the anti-nutrient. So when you eat something that contains phytic acid, it binds with certain minerals in your digestive tract, such as calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc, chromium, and manganese. So again, phytic acid is an anti-nutrient, and soy foods contain high levels of this phytic acid. Let's talk about why this is a problem. So once the phytic acid is in your system, so once this occurs, your body no longer has access to nutrients, and the more phytic acid you eat, the more minerals are blocked from your body. So you're not able to consume these minerals that your body needs. Soy has also been found to promote the growth of some cancer cells, impair female fertility, and mess with thyroid function. And a lot of people want to say, oh, that's just a myth. Do your research. Do your own research. And then you tell me. It's everywhere. So we know that soy is not good. Some people will say it's good for them. Okay, if you want to take it, then you take it. That's on you. But I'm just here to give you information because I know what I've gone through during my healing journey. And I know what made me worse and I know what has made me better. But that's me. It may not work for you. Good old sugar. Good old addictive sugar. Now, this picture looks pretty good. I think they're waffles, butter, syrup. Sugar is something we consume a lot of as Americans, as humans on a daily basis. But let's talk about why it's not necessarily the best choice for your body. So the average American consumes 175 pounds of sugar per year. Yikes, that's a lot, which equals to about 46 teaspoons a day. 46 teaspoons a day. And this could be some old statistics. It could be more nowadays. But sugar lacks nutrients and it actually robs your body of vitamins, minerals, and enzymes. Sugar is also considered the food to fuel cancer. So it's pretty much poor sugar. It gets a bad rap, but it's really robbing your body of what you need. Sugar continues. So just to give you some more facts, it lowers your immune system, feeds cancer cells, feeds the overgrowth of yeast in the colon, significantly promotes obesity and diabetes. Sugar causes inflammation, which is a direct component toward all diseases. It acidifies your body, which can also promote osteoporosis. And we all know it's addictive. A lot of people like their sodas and they think if they have a diet soda, that's better, but it still has a lot of sugar, chocolate, etc. So be mindful of your sugar intake because it has a lot of negative side effects and it's addictive and it's in everything. Look at the kids' cereal. Look at the sugar. It's a ton of it. Cookies, anything. So let's go on to look at some alternatives. So how to reverse disease. So true healing begins with the removal of foods that introduce toxins and pathogens and that acidify the body, cause chronic inflammation, cause mucus buildup, and lead to the development of chronic disease. So when we want to reach our level of true healing, we need to remove the things that are making us sick. Because again, most diseases begin in your gut. There's also an emotional component to diseases that people don't always like to discuss, such as anger, when you hold bitterness, when you have things like that. But We can start by removing some of the food that's causing us to be sick. So let's talk about inflammation. And again, these are reputable websites I'm pulling things off of. So inflammation is part of the innate defense mechanism of the body against infectious or non-infectious etiologies. So the problem with acute inflammation is when it is not turned off, because again, we all have a certain level of inflammation, even mucus in our body. But when it's not turned off, the process then attacks healthy cells in various areas of your body and leads to the development of various forms of disease. This compromises the protective mucous membrane that lines the organs and promotes excess mucus, which compromises healthy organs. And once all of this occurs, our body succumbs to disease when it's acidified and leads to chronic diseases. This is why a lot of us suffer from things like, arthritis and osteoporosis and anemia and sinusitis, things like that, because we have an excess amount of inflammation in our body. So caution, I put this slide up to remind myself what's coming next, because just in case you have a weak stomach, you may not want to look at this. This is not the worst. This isn't the worst parasites I can show you, but they're parasites nonetheless. So we're going to take a look at parasites, which is a condition sometimes of the bad food choices we eat. So a parasite is an organism that lives on or in a host organism and gets its food from or at the expense of its host. So these are the more, I hate to say, better looking parasites, because if you do a Google search, there are other parasites that actually have teeth and hair, and it's tetra something. I can never remember what they're called, but parasites with teeth and hair, they grow teeth and hair. So, be careful what you're putting in your system, and make sure you're trying to do regular detoxes. By detox, I mean herbal detoxes, pure herbs. God created herbs for everything, for healing. There are herbs to help clean your gut. There are herbs to help clean your blood. If you do your research, you'll find that is true. And people have been using herbal remedies forever, because again, our creator created herbs to help us heal. So here's another great quote from a professor who studied herbs many, many, many years ago. So if your blood is formed from eating the foods I teach, and he's referring to fruits and green leaf vegetables, your soul will shout for joy and triumph over all misery of life. For the first time, you feel a vibration of vitality through your body, like in a slight electric current that shakes you delightfully. So just imagine if you're feeding your body with its proper fuel, how good you feel. And don't take my word for it. Try it. Try it for a week or two and see if you notice a difference in your energy level. See if you notice diminished brain fog. See if some of those little annoying aches and pains go away. See if some of your headaches calm down, which oftentimes people are always congested. They have headaches, little body aches here and there. So just try it for a couple of weeks and see where it leads you. All right, so how should I start? How should I start trying to reverse dis-ease and make myself feel better? The best way to do it is by removing dairy. I know a lot of people love their dairy, their cheese, etc., but it's mucus forming. Processed foods, please do that first. If you don't want to get rid of anything else, please stop using processed foods, because they are full of sodium, which is horrible for you. And also remove unnatural acidic and hybrid plants. And by that, I mean, all of our plants are supposed to have a seed. For example, how many of you have been able to find any watermelons with seeds in them? Is everything becoming seedless? Ask yourself why. And it will also be beneficial to supplement with herbs to support the alkaline body. Because again, God created herbs for everything. There are herbs for detoxing. There are herbs for your immune system. Some people don't believe there's an immune system. They call it your lymphatic system. But however you want to refer to it, there are herbs to help with that. All right, and let's talk about some alkaline foods. This is not the entire list. This is just a few that I'm sharing with you. But you can Google Dr. Sabi's full list, and I know it changes from time to time, but it gives you a great basis to start. So kale, teff, spelt, amaranath, portobello and oyster mushrooms, wild rice, zucchini, seeded grapes. I'm specifying seeded because that's your more natural form of grapes. Don't get those crazy cotton candy grapes or whatever flavor of the month they come out with. Baby burro bananas, grape tomatoes, quinoa, seeded watermelons if you're lucky enough to find them because they're not easy to find. I couldn't find any all summer. Agave nectar in moderation. Date sugar is the better choice for date syrup, kale. And again, research Dr. Sabi's food list. It's a great place to start. All right, let's look at some herbs because I love herbs, not anything that's illegal. I mean, these herbs, God's herbs. So, black walnut hulk is a parasite antifungal herb to help remove some of the parasites that rest in your body, in your digestive system. Bladder rack, underactive thyroid, regulate bowel movements, and more. You have blue vervain, which is a nervine, so it helps with your nerves. Is also a blood cleaner. Burdock root is a kidney and blood cleaner, also great for your hair. Chaparral, blood nourishment. Some people have seen really good success with it with arthritis. You do have to be careful with chaparral because you can't have it in high quantities because it can be a little rough on your liver. Also, eye bright, great for eye issues. Feverview for migraines. Irish moss, 98% of the minerals your body needs. Because again, your body needs minerals. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other topic. I don't feel like arguing with anybody about minerals versus vitamins. Do whatever you feel like you need to do. I know it helps me, and I know that my body craves minerals as opposed to vitamins. Excuse my voice. Dandelion root is an excellent tea for kidney stones, blood cleaner, and also cloves. There's so many, herbs I could have posted, but this is just a few. And here I am, blue dress, full of inflammation, pus, you name it, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, severe anemia, getting frequent iron infusions, trying to be put on 100 medications. I'm not even being ridiculous by saying that because it started off with blood pressure. And then next thing you know, up your cholesterol's up, you have anemia. We found an intraductal papilloma in your breast. It just kept graduating and graduating. And then they wanted to put me on a diuretic. And then they wanted me to take high cholesterol medication. It was one thing after another. But I wasn't getting any better. I was getting worse. And then I finally found my journey. Thankfully, the Most High, our Creator, directed me toward a different path. So I started to become an alkaline vegan. And this is a black dress. That's a recent picture of me. I've slimmed down. I still have work to do. None of us are perfect, but the unhealthy blue dress versus a black dress is a significant difference. So that's 2018 to now, through meditation, prayer, taking my herbs, detoxing, working on healing myself and finding the root, not healing myself because all healing comes from God, but finding the root of my dis-ease. Why was I having high blood pressure? Instead of the doctors wanting to just pacify me and give me medication, let's try to figure out why I'm having high blood pressure. What is the root of my high blood pressure? Because like I told you, there's always an emotional component. I'm a mother of 5. I'm running around all the time. Probably was not getting the amount of rest I needed. But instead of trying to figure it out and not put me on these medications that cause me other problems, they weren't trying to cure me. They were just treating the symptoms. Some people don't want just your symptoms treated. You want your symptoms treated. You want to be better. You don't want to be on medication. Have you ever seen commercials for medication? See all the side effects? They mumble or they talk very lowly at the end. Might cause high blood pressure, cancer, or even death. You see how low they say it, but they say it so calm and nice that sometimes it even slips by you. Yeah, we shouldn't be on all these drugs because they're not doing us any good. In fact, they're feeding us with poison. And they know they're feeding us with poison because one drug typically gives birth to another one. How many of you are on a cocktail of medication? Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel getting off of it? More than likely, no. But there's a scripture I put at the top. So for the earth which drinks in the rain that often comes upon it and bears herbs useful for those by whom it is cultivated, receives blessings from God. Hebrews 6 7. So again, God created herbs for healing. Eat food that heals you, not food that robs you of your nutrients. You'll feel better. Your skin will improve. You'll lose some of the inflammation. Maybe lose some pain. You might be dealing with brain fog, headaches every day. Give it a try. If it doesn't work, then say, you know what, Tamara's crazy. I tried this, but you have to actually dial in and give it a try. Try it for a couple weeks and just see how you feel. But lastly, I just want to say this: God's herbs and foods do heal. And I'm a living testimony to that. I will shout it from the rooftops every day. Nothing's going to change my mind. God's herbs and foods do heal. So I thank you for taking time to listen. If you have any questions or want to further discuss it, let me know. You can reach me at New Beginnings Mind, Body, and Soul Wellness Center. Our phone number is 215-294-0079. And we are definitely here to help because I have been on this journey. Some of the students who come to our wellness center are beginning their journey and they've seen great improvements in their health. But your health starts with you. Do your own research. Ask questions when you go to the doctor. Don't just accept their word for it. Study thyself, approve. So with that, be blessed and try to be a blessing to someone else today.